In a quaint and humble abode, nestled amidst rolling hills, resided two brothers, bound by an unbreakable bond of love and loyalty. Jonathan and Karl Lionheart, their names whispered with admiration and respect throughout their village. Jonathan, the elder, possessed a heart of gold. His bravery and kindness knew no bounds. He was the protector, the confidant, the unwavering pillar of strength for his younger brother, Karl. Karl, a gentle soul of 10, yearned to emulate his brother's courage, but a persistent illness cast a shadow over his young life. Despite the fragility of his health, Karl's spirit remained unyielding, fueled by Jonathan's unwavering belief in his strength. Every evening, as the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across their tiny room, Jonathan would sit beside Karl's bed, his voice a soothing balm to his brother's worries. With each word, he would weave tales of a distant land, a place of enchantment and wonder known as Nangijala. "Nangijala, little brother," Jonathan would whisper, his eyes twinkling with unshed tears, "is a land where dreams take flight and adventures never cease." Karl, his heart filled with hope and longing, would listen intently, clinging to his brother's every word. He envisioned himself alongside his brother, their laughter echoing through the enchanted forests of Nangijala. Little did he know, fate had a plan that would soon test their bond and transport them to a realm beyond dreams. One fateful night, as a tempest raged outside, casting an eerie glow upon the Lionheart household, tragedy struck with the swiftness of a viper's strike. The comforting crackle of the fireplace was replaced by the deafening roar of flames as a fire, fueled by the howling wind, engulfed their home. Smoke, thick and black as ink, billowed through the house, choking the air and stealing the breath from their lungs. Jonathan, ever vigilant, was jolted awake by the acrid smell of smoke. His heart pounded in his chest as he realized the gravity of the situation. Leaping from his bed, he raced to Karl's side, scooping his frail brother into his arms. "Hold on tight, Karl!" Jonathan shouted above the roar of the inferno, his voice steady despite the terror that clawed at his throat. Jonathan fought his way through the inferno, the searing heat blistering his skin, and the suffocating smoke making it nearly impossible to breathe. Each gulp of air felt like swallowing shards of glass, yet he pressed on, his love for Karl fueling his every step. Reaching a window, he smashed the glass with his bare fist, ignoring the shards that tore at his flesh. With a final surge of adrenaline, he hurled Karl to safety, watching as his brother tumbled onto the soft earth below. But as Jonathan turned to follow, the floor gave way, plunging him into the heart of the inferno. Karl lay on the cold, wet ground, his small body racked with coughs, his eyes searching frantically for his brother. He cried out Jonathan's name, but only the roar of the fire answered his pleas. Despair settled in his heart as he watched the flames consume his home. Days turned into weeks, and the pain of Jonathan's loss weighed heavily upon Karl. His health deteriorated further, his cough worsening with each passing hour. One evening, as Karl lay in bed, a sense of peace settled over him. He found himself bathed in a warm, golden light. He opened his eyes to find himself in a meadow, a carpet of vibrant wildflowers. And there, standing beneath a majestic cherry tree, was Jonathan. "Karl!" Jonathan called out, his voice ringing with clarity and strength. "Welcome to Nangijala, little brother. We are together again." Tears of joy streamed down Karl's face as he ran towards his brother. He was home, in Nangijala, with Jonathan by his side. Cherry Valley was everything Jonathan had promised and more. Nestled amidst rolling hills and sparkling streams, it was a place where time seemed to flow at a gentler pace. The air was sweet with the scent of cherry blossoms, their delicate petals painting the ground in hues of pink and white. The people of Cherry Valley welcomed Karl with open arms, their faces reflecting warmth and generosity. Sophia, the dove keeper, soothed the white doves that soared between the valleys. Hubert, the hunter, his weathered face etched with stories of countless adventures. I've had encounters with cunning foxes, majestic stags, and even the elusive white wolves that roamed the mountains. Each day in Cherry Valley unfolded like a chapter in a beloved fairy tale. Yet, even in this paradise, a shadow lurked at the edges of their newfound happiness. Whispers of a distant threat, a darkness that cast a pall over the neighbouring valley. Thorn Rose Valley, once vibrant, now shrouded in fear under the tyrannical Tengil. Tengil, a cruel warlord, ruled from his obsidian throne. His dark armoured soldiers patrolled Thorn Rose Valley, a reminder of his oppressive grip. Fear was constant, laughter silenced, spirits crushed under Tengil's tyranny. Cherry trees, once symbols of hope, now stood barren and withered. And then there were the whispers of Katla, the dragon, a creature of immense power, its scales harder than steel, its breath hotter than a furnace. One evening, as the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the valley, Karl noticed a change in Jonathan's demeanour. Gone was his usual carefree laughter, replaced by a furrowed brow and a distant look in his eyes. He seemed troubled, his thoughts a million miles away, his gaze fixed on the horizon, as if searching for something he couldn't quite grasp. "What is it, brother? What troubles you so?" Karl's voice was barely a whisper, his own joy momentarily forgotten in the face of Jonathan's unspoken worry. "I fear, little brother, that the darkness we've heard whispers of may be closer than we think." Jonathan's words hung in the air between them, heavy with unspoken implications. Karl's brow furrowed in confusion, his mind racing to make sense of his brother's cryptic statement. "What do you mean, Jonathan? What darkness?" Jonathan took a deep breath, his gaze hardening with resolve. "I've heard rumours of a traitor in our midst. Someone who conspires with Tengil, someone who provides him with information about our valley, about our defences." Karl's eyes widened in alarm, his heart pounding in his chest. A traitor? Here, in Cherry Valley? The thought seemed unfathomable. Yet Jonathan's words held a ring of truth that Karl couldn't ignore. He knew, deep down, that their idyllic life in Cherry Valley was about to be shattered, that the darkness they had heard whispers of was about to engulf them all. That night, as the moon cast long, silvery fingers through the leaves, I tossed and turned in my sleep. Images flickered across my mind's eye. A raging inferno, Jonathan's face contorted in pain, and a shadowy figure lurking in the background. He woke with a start, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest, his breath coming in short, shallow gasps. The air hung heavy and still, thick with the sweet, cloying scent of night-blooming jasmine. He slipped out of bed, his bare feet padding silently across the wooden floorboards, and made his way to the window. Outside, the world was bathed in an ethereal silver light, the trees swaying gently in the warm night breeze. But the beauty of the scene did little to calm the storm raging within him. The dream, so vivid, so real, clung to him like a shroud, filling him with a sense of impending doom. "Karl, what's wrong? It's the middle of the night. I had a dream, a bad dream. Jonathan, I'm scared." "It's all right, little brother. It was just a dream, nothing more." Despite Jonathan's comforting words, Karl couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled upon him. He couldn't shake the image of the shadowy figure from his dream, the sense that danger lurked closer than they realized. Determined to find answers, he decided to confide in Sophia, the dovekeeper, whose wisdom and intuition he had come to trust. "I found Sophia tending to her doves in the orchard," their soft cooing creating a soothing melody that did little to ease the turmoil in my heart. I recounted my dream, my voice barely above a whisper, my words tumbling over each other in my haste to share my fears. Sophia listened patiently, her brow furrowed in thought, her fingers gently stroking the feathers of a dove perched on her arm. As Karl spoke, a thought flickered across Sophia's mind, a memory so fleeting, so easily dismissed, that it had remained buried in the recesses of her consciousness. She recalled a conversation overheard, a clandestine meeting witnessed under the cover of darkness. It involved Jossie, the seemingly affable landlord, his voice a hushed whisper, his words spoken with a conspiratorial air. Jossie? But he's been so kind to us, so welcoming. The very thought of Jossie betraying their trust, of conspiring with the forces of darkness that threatened their valley, seemed unfathomable. Yet, deep down, a seed of doubt began to take root in Karl's mind. Driven by fear and a desperate need for answers, Karl resolved to uncover the truth about Jossie's betrayal. That night, as the moon hid behind clouds, Karl crept out of bed, his heart pounding. He made his way silently through the sleeping village to the outskirts of Cherry Valley. As I approached the hidden clearing, I heard hushed voices. I crept closer, hiding behind an old oak, my heart pounding. Peering cautiously, I gasped in horror at the sight before me. There stood Jossie, his face illuminated by a lantern. The figures flanking him sent shivers down Karl's spine. 2 of Tengil's soldiers, their armor glinting menacingly. Before Karl could react, a twig snapped under his foot. The soldiers whirled around, reaching for their swords. Karl, his heart racing, knew he had been discovered. Fear surged through Karl's veins as he ran, soldiers hot on his heels. He stumbled into a clearing, finding a dilapidated cottage. Inside, a weathered man by a fire looked up as Karl entered. The door burst open, revealing soldiers, but Jonathan stepped between Karl and his pursuers, sword in hand. Jonathan's sudden appearance stunned the soldiers. "Leave this place before I run you through." The soldiers backed away, recognizing Jonathan's resolve. "Are you all right, little brother?" The old man, Matthias, introduced himself as a resistance member. I joined the resistance after Karl's dream reached me. "Your brother is a true Lionheart, young Karl. Our fight against Tengil is far from over." Orvar, the resistance leader, was captured. We must rescue Orvar. A plan was hatched to infiltrate Tengil's fortress. Karl create a diversion. Jonathan's plan was audacious. Karl created a diversion, allowing Jonathan and the rebels to slip into the fortress. Inside, they moved with purpose, their resolve hardened. The fate of Thorn Rose Valley rested on their shoulders. The sound of clashing steel signaled the rebellion. News of Orvar's escape spread, igniting hope. Tengil summoned Katla, the dragon. The ground trembled as the monstrous creature emerged. Katla's roar silenced the battlefield. I had faced many dangers, but nothing like Katla. Flames erupted from the dragon, incinerating everything. Foolish rebels faced the consequences. Despair threatened Jonathan as Katla laid waste. "Please, Katla, we mean no harm." The dragon hesitated, curiosity in its eyes. I have to appeal to its compassion. The battle raged on, but a silence settled between Jonathan and Katla. "We seek peace, not war." Katla lowered its head, a bond forged. Tengil unleashed a final attack, and Jonathan pushed Karl to safety. Karl opened his eyes to a silent battlefield. "Jonathan, where are you?" Jonathan lay beneath cherry blossoms, at peace. Our journey continues in Nangijala, where only happy adventures exist.